Welcome back to the Horseman's Corner. We're on part 3 of today's program, and this last half of the program is an interview with Patty Franklin about a rodeo that Brian Hale handled. So let's get right into it.
Welcome to today's Horseman's Corner. I'm Brian Hale, sitting in for Howard Hale, and I had a chance to catch up with Patty Franklin, founder and catalyst behind the Cowboy Roundup Rodeo Clinic Scholarships. I want to welcome you to the program this morning, Patty, and thank you for your time today. Can you just start off by giving us a background of how you got started with livestock and the whole rodeo scene?
So we started in Colorado in Brush, and my dad was a representative for Great Western Sugar, and we lived in Hill Rose, Colorado. He did farm and ranch loans, and so that's kind of where the cattle, the horse, that type of deal came from. We moved out to Visalia, California, and he continued to do farm and ranch loans. And about 2 years after that, he decided, I'm going to take my family, we're going to go back to Wyoming, and we ended up on a ranch north of Torrington, running cattle, wheat, and then kind of just, it went from there. I, in high school, had the opportunity to run with some kids that rodeoed and just enjoyed that lifestyle, what they did, horses in general. And when I got, I guess I was probably 17 or 18, got a wild hair, and my dad said, where do you want to go to college? And I said, I want to go somewhere where nobody knows me, and I ended up in Los Angeles. And he thought I was crazy, but when I was out there, I really started enjoying the sport of rodeo and what it had to offer. I started running up and down California to some of the bigger rodeos, and so mine isn't as much horsemanship as it is, I love a good buck and stock. And got to meet some really great people in the industry of rodeo. So I got to meet Sunny Deb Backstrom, who is, she has been the PRCA's Secretary of the Year for so many years. She actually taught me how to secretary in time.
Oh, nice.
I got to time for Serby Rodeo Company, and just started running in some of those circles. So that's kind of how I got to be around some really great bucking stock, and that's kind of where my whole love of horses and what it comes from is just the free spirit. And I think that if my dad was alive today, he would tell you that that's probably my spirit animal, is that I never did anything the way everybody wanted me to do it. I did it my own way, and I was kind of a little bit of a rebel, and so maybe I identify with the bucking stock better than I do anything else in my life. After being out in California around the 1990s, I got the opportunity to go to work for the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, and I started out as a pro-com operator. And then Jim Nichols gave me the opportunity to come in and build rodeos. And I enjoyed it so much because I connected with those cowboys. I knew what they loved to do. And then I went into the accounts receivable, but have always just loved the sport of rodeo and the bucking stock. And I think a lot of times people don't understand that. First off, these bucking stock, they live like kings and queens. Mm-hmm. They are worth millions, and the stock contractors treat them so good because of what they bring to the table. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I got started. It's kind of the long version, but stayed with the PRCA, but had never given up my love of the sport of rodeo, and one day knew, with the help of for the good Lord, I would be able to come back into it. That's where I'm at today with the Cowboy Roundup.
Well, Patty, that sounds like a good place to take a break. After we come out of the break, maybe you can explain to folks what it takes to build a rodeo.
How much time do you spend putting up or repairing your fence line? Now you can build long stretches of fence line in record time with the Pickett's Power Post Driver. Drive a post through virtually any hard surface in just seconds.
I can't begin to tell you how many hours I've saved in just the last season alone. The Power Post Driver has paid for itself time and time again.
Go to PowerPostDriver.com. Less effort, more power.
Website by Hale Multimedia. Welcome back to the Horseman's Corner with our guest, Patty Franklin. Let's continue that thought on building a rodeo.
You get the parameters of a rodeo from your rodeo committee. So they want bareback, saddle bronc, bull riding, team roping. They let you know how many they want, and your cowboys call in to Procom, and then they enter up into the rodeo. All of that is put into a computer system generated draw, and then when it comes to the gals that are building the rodeo, they will pull that draw out and they put those cowboys into the positions that they have asked for, if they fall in right. You know, there's certain cowboys that want a Friday night performance. There's certain cowboys that want a Saturday. Some of them have priority because there's 4 of them that are traveling together. So they will get their first priority, and it's a computer generated, and then we work with your stock contractors to make sure that they have all of their sheets. They know what's happening, and then those cowboys have to pay their entry fees, and then it goes out, and then at that level, the secretary of the rodeo, the stock contractor, comes in, usually a little bag of poker chips with the horses' names on it, and they draw those horses for those cowboys. They all knew through Procom, and they had been doing this for so many years. The cowboys know that they have this, the rodeo opens on this date, and it closes on this date. Okay. So they have this many days to enter, and when that entry date time comes, it cuts off, and then they knew when they needed to pay their fees, and that's all run through the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. And you know what? To this day, as far as I know, they still do it the exact same way. And so it's interesting that we are to this level of technology, but it's still done the exact same way because it worked, and there was no reason to fix it, because it really did work well for those cowboys, and it gives them an honest chance to get down the rodeos, because those cowboys have to go to, I believe, to qualify for the National Finals rodeo, they have to go to at least 125 rodeos a year.
Wow.
So it is a sport that, like I said, I absolutely love. It is a family affair. It is. I've met some of the greatest people, and it's really good family.
Where can folks find information about you on the web now, about this Cowboy Roundup?
We are at www.thecowboyroundup.com. My partner and I, Ellie Hageman, we set this up, and there's also a video out there. It's a 90-second video, and you can watch it, and it gives you more information about what we're doing. And then I also have, if you go out, you'll be able to see my board of directors. I'm very, very proud of my board of directors, as well as my partner, Ellie, because a lot of the, almost all of my board of directors have something to do with rodeo, livestock, horses, stock contractors, working ranches, and so they all have that same love of keeping the Western tradition alive.
And it's very interesting what you've put together here, Patty, and from what you've told me about your board members, they seem to back you 100%. We're going to take a break now on Horseman's Corner and come back on our next segment and learn about the board of directors that Patty Franklin has put together for the Cowboy Roundup Scholarship Program. So come right back after the break to meet the board. You're listening to the Horseman's Corner.
Bunkhouse Trailer Sales has a large inventory of Big Bend trailers that handle the tough jobs like they should, with features that every cattleman can appreciate, but they're doing it from a new location that's at Steve's Truck and Equipment between Scottsbluff and Mitchell in the Nebraska Panhandle. If you can't stop by, give them a call at 308-623-9955 or check them out at bunkhousetrailersales.com, bunkhousetrailersales.com for your next stock or horse trailer, including the tough, practical, cattleman-friendly Big Bend trailers. We have some really good information available for you on the web, as well as what we have on the radio, and you can find it by going to horsemanscorner.com, cattlemanscorner.com, or agsearch.us. All websites that are geared to agriculture and the horse and cattle industry, so I invite you to visit those websites today, horsemanscorner.com, cattlemanscorner.com, and agsearch.us. Visit soon.
Welcome back to the Horseman's Corner. I'm Brian Hale, sitting in for Howard Hale, and let's continue this conversation with founder of the Cowboy Roundup Scholarship Program, Patty Franklin. Patty, in our first segment, you talked a lot about the history and the program itself. You started to mention your board of directors and how proud you were of them, and I can imagine why. Let's take this segment to go over who those people are and why they're involved with your organization.
Tim Zegelke was one of the first gentlemen I approached about being on the board of directors. Tim and I went to grade school together, and we never really lost track of each other. We were always friends, because my mom being from Brush, I would go back, and so I contacted Tim with the idea, and he was like, wow, this is a great idea. So we take kids from 7 to 24 through essay, 500-word essay, and 90 seconds, I think, to 3-minute video, and tell us why you feel like you would be a good candidate for a rodeo scholarship to go to a rodeo clinic. And I said, there's a lot of kids out there with a lot of talent, but they don't necessarily have the fundamentals. They don't have the financing to get down the road to a clinic. And I really want to be that person because I want to keep this alive. And he said, this is a great idea. This is where this started. So then I was sitting there and I was like, okay, well, who's the next person I want? Donna Vold Larson. I did not know Donna. I called her up and I said, Donna, this is Patty Franklin. This is my idea, and I'd love for you to be part of my board of directors. And she kind of hesitated, and she said, I'm not sure I want to be a part. Let me do some checking. Called her back in 3 days, and she said, what a great idea. I've done some research. I want to be on your board of directors. Well, Donna Vold's dad is Harry Vold, and he had Vold rodeo stock. And Donna has the 3V. And so she's got bucking stock. Derek Barton is PRCA's Sound Man of the Year. So he goes in to these different rodeos. You have to be a PRCA card member, and he does all of the music he does the music for the rodeos that he's been hired to do. So, and then also grew up around Wheatland, Douglas. We knew a lot of the same people, so he just has a really good knowledge of stock contractors, what it takes to run a rodeo. If you look at my board members, they all came from the premise, even with Seth being as young as he is, he came from the premise that we have a tradition that we need to keep alive. And so that was kind of my thought process behind all of the people that I had chosen up to this point. Ryan Brown from Fort Laramie. And Ryan is the assistant stock contractor, he handles all of the stock at the national finals. So he does all of where are they going to be positioned, where do they get fed. and then he has his own cattle in Fort Laramie. And so it just kind of snowballed, and everybody I talked to was just like, wow, this is a great idea. Martina Realbird, she is off the Crow Reservation up off of in Hardin. She lives in Billings. I mean, if you look at what she brings to the table, again, stock contractor. Her dad announces the Indian relays. She's been an advisor for movie and television. I went to Joni Johnson. Joni's husband and I we worked together on a couple different projects, and I went to her because I just loved her. She's a great artist. She has been commissioned to draw Miss Rodeo Oklahoma every year. So I found out she grew up on a working ranch, and it just kind of snowballed. She knew what it took to keep this tradition alive. And then Amy Connolly, she has a ranch outside of Fort Laramie, her and her husband. And so every day she's horseback. Literally every day this girl is horseback. Ashley Miller. I've known Ashley for, goodness gracious, over 30 years. I put Ashley in the place of the chief financial officer because we had gone to school together. We both got our masters together. I have a master's in marketing and management. She has a master's in accounting and finance. And she grew up around Lusk. Her grandpa had a ranch. And so she knew a lot about rodeo. She knew of the small town. And so everybody that I've connected with, we all had the same values. And that was kind of something that made me gravitate towards them.
Let's take a quick break before we get to the rest of that board. Patty, we'll be right back after this message from Howard Hale. You're listening to the Horseman's Corner.
So you missed a Horseman's Corner on the radio. Well, you can find all of the Horseman's Corner programs by going to horsemanscorner.com. You can also find some links to some good horse sales there. You can get all that by going to horsemanscorner.com. Good information for the horseman and a good place to advertise if you have a horse-related business. That's horsemanscorner.com.
Another website by Hale Multimedia. Welcome back to the Horseman's Corner. Let's continue that board of directors from the Cowboy Roundup with our guest, Patty Franklin.
Ellie Hageman. She's been with me for 28 years, and so she's been part of the rodeo community. I've taken her and introduced her to every single person that I've ever met. She is bright and funny and smart, and she built my website from nothing, or our website from nothing. She built our 90-second video. She does everything to keep this operation going. And so putting her in as chief operations wasn't something that I had to really think about. She keeps all of the social media going. She's clever and witty, and the Cowboy Roundup is just super blessed to have somebody like that on their staff, because I don't know if I could find somebody this day and age that could do what she does. My very last one was Seth Glass. And Seth is the rodeo coach at LCCC in Cheyenne. And I kind of followed him a little bit because his dad is the PRCA commissioner. And they both grew up in Wyoming. They grew up around rodeo. Both Tom and then Seth is a great bull rider. They just know the sport. And so everybody that I had, that me and my partner Ellie picked, really encompassed the Cowboy Roundup. So I really was just so honored to have these people go, you have a great idea. We want to be a part of it. And that's how it all started.
So how can we help? How can people get involved?
One of the things that the board members decided was that not enough kids know about rodeo ethics, integrity. We're going to have a couple of fundraisers throughout the year, so please watch the website because they will be updated. Ellie will make sure that they're updated. And then we also are planning a school right now around February 9th through the 12th. It's very tentative, but I thought it was fitting. Put your heart into it, because we really want them to understand what it is that it takes to go down the road and where we're at. There's a lot of cowboys that go down the road and they have no idea what it's like to walk up and introduce yourself to a stock contractor, learn about your stock, and that was something that Donna was adamant about. No, put your phone down, know the people that you're around. You will get further in this industry because we're a family by meeting these people. And so we're going to have a couple fundraisers, we're going to have a school, and getting involved. If you can help with stock, if you can help with donation, if you can help with silent auction items. During the school, we plan on having a meet and greet the first night where all the cowboys get to come together and meet the instructors, the board members, and we're going to have a little one-on-one where they get to hear these stories about these cowboys going down the road and what it takes to be a successful rodeo cowboy. So anything that you can bring to the table, you can do to help is greatly appreciated. What I say in the 90-second video, no donation or help is too big or too small. Everything is appreciated because we're family. And I appreciate everybody that wants to take part in this because it's how I grew up.
And that was our guest, Patty Franklin, founder of the Cowboy Roundup Rodeo Scholarship Program. You're listening to the Horseman's Corner.
And that does it for today's edition of the Horseman's Corner. In the future, you're going to hear more from Brian Hale on the Horseman's Corner. Some of the guests we're going to have as we go on down the road are Emily Kitching with the Eclectic Horseman, with some interesting developments that she has with their Horseman's Gazette program. Also going to try to get Buck Bredeman on the air in the not-too-distant future with some interesting information about a program that he's put together that's going to be available over the Internet. So those are two of the people we're going to be talking to. We're also going to be talking to some folks about how to go about looking for that right horse for you to buy, because this is a time of year where there are quite a few people that are going to be out looking for horses and buying horses, and some of the folks that are looking are not very experienced. So we'll have some tips there. But thanks for joining us for today's edition of the Horseman's Corner. Always great to have you along. I'm Howard Hale, host of the program, and I'll say goodbye. May God bless. See you next week, same time.